Shadows we carry. We all carry shadows. Silent companions that walk beside us. Unseen, unacknowledged, undeniable. What are these shadows? They are the emotions we've buried, the wounds we've covered, the truths we've denied ourselves. Have you ever wondered why certain people trigger you so intensely? Why specific words can collapse your composure in seconds? This is not coincidence. This is your shadow speaking. Carl Jung understood this profoundly when he wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Your unacknowledged pain doesn't dissolve into nothing. It transforms. It shapes your reactions, your defenses, your perception of safety in this world. Consider the person who never learned to express anger as a child. How does this manifest in their adult relationships? Perhaps as passive aggression. Perhaps as people-pleasing until resentment overflows. Perhaps as choosing partners who express all the rage they cannot. We recreate what we haven't resolved. The control you think you maintain by burying these emotions is an illusion. True power lies in facing them, naming them, allowing them space to breathe. What emotions do you find unacceptable in yourself? Jealousy, neediness, rage, desire? Whatever you reject within becomes the very force that controls you from the shadows. The parent who cannot bear vulnerability may create children afraid to show weakness. The partner who cannot acknowledge jealousy may create relationships built on possession rather than freedom. The friend who denies their own needs may build connections where authenticity suffocates beneath obligation. This is the inheritance of shadows, the legacy of what remains unspoken. But there is another way. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When we bring consciousness to our shadows, we no longer project them onto others. We no longer mistake our internal landscape for external reality. What would change if you turned toward your shadows with curiosity instead of fear? What relationships might transform if you recognized where your unhealed wounds are speaking? How might your boundaries shift if they arose from present wisdom rather than past protection? The shadows we carry are not our enemies. They are messengers, carrying wisdom from parts of ourselves we've exiled. Listen to them. They have been waiting for you to notice. They have been waiting for you to remember. That wholeness includes everything, even the darkest parts you've tried to forget, especially those. The origins of our shadows. These shadows begin forming in the earliest moments of our lives. A child cries out for comfort. If met with consistent warmth, they learn, my needs matter. If met with indifference, they learn, my needs burden others. A single moment doesn't create a shadow, but patterns do. Patterns write stories in our nervous system. Stories about who we are, what we deserve, how the world responds to our authentic self. Friedrich Nietzsche observed, the most common lie is that which one lies to himself. Lying to others is relatively an exception. The stories we tell ourselves about our emotions become the architecture of our inner world. I shouldn't need anyone. A shadow of vulnerability denied. I must always be in control. A shadow of fear unacknowledged. My anger makes me unlovable. A shadow of natural human emotion rejected. We build elaborate defense systems around these wounded places. We construct personas designed to protect us from ever feeling that original pain again. And yet, what we resist persists. The more vehemently we deny our shadows, the more power they gain in our unconscious. The more completely they orchestrate our choices without our awareness. Have you noticed yourself repeating the same relationship patterns? Attracting the same difficulties? Facing the same core wounds dressed in different circumstances? This is not failure. This is not weakness. This is your psyche's profound wisdom, attempting to heal what remains unintegrated. The shadow in relationship. Our closest relationships become the theater where our shadows play their most dramatic roles. Notice how quickly you can transform the person you love into the embodiment of your deepest fears. In moments of trigger, your partner is no longer themselves. They become every person who has ever hurt you, every threat your nervous system has catalogued. And you are no longer present. You are defending against ghosts, fighting old battles, protecting younger versions of yourself who still live within you, frozen in past pain. This is projection in its purest form. We see in others what we cannot or will not see in ourselves. The qualities that irritate you most in others? Look closer. Often these are disowned aspects of yourself. The ambition you've suppressed. The selfishness you've denied. The emotional needs you've learned to dismiss. As Jung noted, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The critic who cannot bear imperfection in others is running from their own humanity. The person obsessed with others' dishonesty may be hiding truths from themselves. Those most disturbed by others' emotional expression often carry oceans of unfelt feeling. Our intimate relationships offer us mirrors, precise, unflinching reflections of what remains unhealed within us. The question becomes, will you blame the mirror, or will you look at what it reveals? The collective shadow. Our individual shadows exist within larger systems of collective shadow. Families maintain unspoken rules about which emotions are acceptable, which truths can be named, which parts of human experience must remain hidden. We don't talk about money in this family. We don't show weakness. We don't burden others with our problems. These rules become the invisible architecture of our emotional lives. Societies, too, carry collective shadows, cultural taboos, historical wounds unprocessed, systemic injustices unaddressed. When we cannot bear to face collective shadows, we create scapegoats. We project what we cannot integrate onto those we deem other. Brené Brown speaks to this when she writes, "Owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing we'll ever do." This applies not just personally, but collectively. What shadows do we carry as communities? As nations? As a human family? What emotions do we collectively find too threatening to acknowledge? How might our shared future transform if we had the courage to face these shadows together? The body keeps score. Your body knows your shadows intimately. That tightness in your throat when certain topics arise. The heaviness in your chest when boundaries are crossed. The heat rising to your face when old shame is triggered. Your body holds the memories your conscious mind may have buried. Trauma researcher Bessel van der Kolk reminds us, the body keeps the score. Your nervous system catalogues every significant emotional experience. It creates response patterns designed to protect you from repeating painful histories. Notice the physical sensations that arise in moments of emotional intensity. These sensations are not random. They are precise communications from your embodied wisdom. The tension in your shoulders may be anger asking to be acknowledged. The knot in your stomach may be fear seeking your attention. The heaviness in your limbs may be grief waiting to be felt. Your emotions, even the ones you've banished to the shadow, continue to speak through your body. Learning to listen to these physical messages creates a pathway to reclaiming your wholeness. When you feel triggered, pause. Breathe. Place a hand where you feel sensation in your body. Ask gently, what is this feeling? What is it trying to tell me? What does it need? This simple practice begins to bridge the divide between consciousness and shadow. The journey toward integration. Integration doesn't mean eliminating your shadows. It means bringing light to them, offering them understanding, recognizing them as essential aspects of your wholeness. This journey requires courage, patience, compassion for yourself. It means questioning the stories you've inherited about which emotions are acceptable, which needs are valid, which aspects of human experience deserve acknowledgement. Rumi wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Your shadows contain not just pain, but profound gifts. The grief you've avoided may hold your capacity for deep connection. The anger you've suppressed may harbor your power and clarity. The fear you've denied may house your intuition and discernment. As you begin to reclaim these disowned parts, relationships transform. You no longer need others to complete you, to regulate you, to validate parts of yourself you cannot face. You become capable of seeing others more clearly, without the distortion of projection. You develop the capacity to respond rather than react, to choose rather than be compelled by unconscious forces. The practice of shadow work. How do we begin this work of integration? First, with willingness. The willingness to look at what has been hidden, to feel what has been numbed, to acknowledge what has been denied. Then, with curiosity rather than judgment, ask yourself, what emotions do I find most difficult to acknowledge? In what relationships do I feel most triggered? What patterns keep repeating in my life despite my best intentions? What criticism do I most often direct at others? These questions point toward your shadows. Dreams, too, offer windows into the unconscious. The figures that appear in your dreams often represent aspects of yourself seeking integration. Creative expression provides another pathway. Writing, movement, art, these bypass the rational mind and allow shadow elements to emerge in forms you can witness and engage. And, perhaps most importantly, relationship itself becomes a practice ground. Each trigger, each conflict, each moment of projection becomes an opportunity to reclaim a disowned piece of yourself. The freedom of wholeness. What awaits beyond the integration of shadow? A profound sense of coming home to yourself, of internal spaciousness, of freedom from the compulsions of unconscious patterns. When you no longer need to suppress aspects of your experience, energy once used for denial becomes available for creation, for connection, for contribution to a world in need of wholeness. As you release the exhausting work of keeping parts of yourself in shadow, you discover new vitality, new authenticity in your relationships, new clarity about your purpose. You become more capable of true intimacy, being seen and known in the fullness of your humanity and offering that same gift to others. You develop greater resilience, no longer devastated by emotions you've learned to welcome and integrate. You access deeper wisdom, drawing from all aspects of your experience rather than only those deemed acceptable by external standards. The shadows we carry need not determine our destiny. When brought into consciousness, they become not burdens, but resources. Not limitations, but expansions of what is possible. This is the invitation before you now. To turn toward what you have turned away from. To welcome what you have rejected. To reclaim the fullness of your humanity. Your shadows have been waiting. For your attention. Your understanding. Your compassion. For your recognition that they, too, belong in the story of who you are. Not as adversaries to be conquered, but as messengers bearing gifts you have yet to unwrap. The journey toward wholeness begins with a single step. A willing heart, an open mind, a gentle curiosity about all you have carried in shadow. What awaits is nothing less than yourself. Complete, integrated, free.